Okay, hello everyone. Once again, we're back. So I've had some thought regarding my application. We were doing some market research to see if we can add more features because it kind of seemed like it was a little not. It didn't have any better functionality, but then while I was offline, I was just thinking I think I should start off by just the basic functionality, ship that off, and then build up upon that rather than going in deep into market research and figuring out what needs to be improved or what needs to be added. I think that could be done later, but the first job should be to get the work uploaded into the system. Okay, 1 second. once again. Okay. Right, so let's get started. We're gonna pull up our cursor. So again, for those of you who don't know, I am building an app. Even though I have zero coding knowledge, I'm gonna wipe code my way through it. Maybe this is just one of many, hopefully, fingers crossed. But right now the aim is to get it live just with a bare minimum structure to get it live, just so that I get a feel for what happens after that, and then we're gonna build more features, functionalities on top of it. Now, so what do I have right now? So it's gonna be just a normal recipe book. Should have the ability to capture recipes. You can either type it like that, or also you can paste your recipe and then it creates a recipe card for it. I had other functionalities that I wanted to add, but I am going to leave that for later. So for now it's going to be a basic recipe app, and then we're going to build different functionalities on top of it. Got it? Perfect. Okay. Yeah, and for the tools that I'm using, I have Cursor along with Codex. I've got a ChatGPT subscription, so I'm using that Codex extension on top of Cursor for development of this. And then I also have Expo that I'm utilizing just for the ease of just seeing what's going on, and then for pushing it into Appstore as well. So yeah, so if one of you have any recommendations or anything, feel free to let me know, and then let's see if we can build that into this application as well. Okay, so now that we're up to speed, let's get started. So far we've kind of taken these things out, and what I explained in my last stream was that I've kind of started creating these empty files with instructions for design and functionality. So we're going to tweak those in first, and then once we are kind of satisfied, then we're going to start rolling that into the design or the functionality into the application. Okay, so initially I was using a 5.5 model from GPT, but now I've reduced it to a 5.4 mini, because the moment I started using the bigger the larger models, it started taking away the tokens really quickly, and I don't think like some of the work was that complicated that it needed more compute power or a 5.5 model. So I just reduced it to a 5.4 mini so that we can get the maximum amount of output from the model itself, rather than my tokens running out. Okay, now that being said, let's get started. So what I want to do right now would be maybe I'm going to start prompting with the AI. Let's properly Okay, so what I'm trying to do is trying to get the Firebase. I'm trying to see if Firebase is working properly, and there's no issues with that, and that anything that I store gets stored in properly. Okay. Meanwhile, okay, so one thing that I did note was it's written. I verified that the code pad not alive. Firestone round trip against your remote path, so this is weirdly correct. Is wired correctly in the code. Certainly spoke tested from here. Yes, confirm. Okay. So what I'm trying to do is just trying to check if Firebase or Firestore is kind of communicating with my application properly. From the code, yes, it is working properly. One character design. Then verify it on my end. Okay, now one other thing that I just remembered that I needed to do was, let me just that reads the, hold on, so navigation, and bottom navigation functionality. Okay, so right. So, so I've got two agents working at the moment. The first one is basically looking at the Firebase issue just to see if everything's working properly over here. The second one, I've spawned a second one that's supposed to kind of work on the navigation bar at the bottom of the screen over here. Oh, codex. Okay, so right now I've almost 96% usage available. So let's see how long we can stretch this out for. I love Starter Story. It's really motivating to see how people are making it by just building apps and stuff. So if you guys haven't watched it, do give that channel a watch. I think you would like it as well if you're into building apps and stuff. Okay. Now, let's see what the other agent's doing. Let me see. Okay, so I also want to check, like, since we've kind of disabled the two functions over here, is AI still being utilized in both of these as well? Okay. In the meanwhile, this is interesting. Apple sues OpenAI alleging trade secret theft, says scheme was at every level. I wonder what's the trade secret. Oh. Wait, is it related to our partnership in 2024? Interesting. Yes, so they did start Apple's designer John Ivey startup called IO Products for $6.4 billion. It's based on interesting instead of OpenAI's technology. Apple alleged that OpenAI's hardware chief Tang Tan, who is formerly Apple's vice president, has directed Apple's employees interviewing at OpenAI to share Apple secrets as part of the interviewing process. He's directed job candidates still working for Apple to bring actual parts from Apple to their interviews for show and tell sessions in which he and his team at OpenAI can elicit still more Apple confidential information. Oh, that's interesting. And how to ooh, ouch. Okay. So I was reading into this previously as well. So OpenAI is kind of facing a crunch because of not being an owner of any kind of hardware along with what their offering is. So Google has Android, Apple has iPhone. So once you have the whole ecosystem, then you can build upon that. Other thing that I kind of heard was that Google is kind of integrating its Gemini product in all of its offering. So when someone is, let's say, buying Gemini, they're getting the whole, the suite of tools on top of AI. I'll show you what I mean. So you see how when you go buy a Gemini subscription, you're getting all of that on top of like your storage, your Google Suite, Google Drive, Google Workspace, all of that, right? So like you get all of that on top of the existing stack. So they're kind of putting all of that, they're building their AI inside of all of their different offerings that they have. But OpenAI currently just has that one offering, so which is why they're kind of desperate to kind of start off with their hardware and then integrate their AI to it so that they could have a more core offerings, and then control the market. This is where Meta also kind of had to kind of Meta also had to kind of pivot. So initially they understood that they never had the upper hand on the hardware side, right? Um, so that's why their initial jump into metaverse was because they wanted to be the first, wanted to get the first mover advantage for going into metaverse, because that's what he thought was the next big thing. But that never happened. That never got off as everyone was expecting, and then the whole thing was scaled back. And now they've kind of pivoted into smart glasses. Again, this is smart glasses is a hardware that Meta is trying to take over that space and become one of the leaders in it. That which is why they've invested money into like Luxottica, the owner of Ray-Ban and Oakley, so that they could have a strategic advantage compared to other technology companies like Google and Apple, who are not the first movers in this race, right? So they're Facebook is trying to get the first mover advantage, specifically on the spec side of things. So they're implementing their AI into their specs. They're coming up with their new glasses, trying to sell more of those just so that it could become a novelty, and then they can keep on improving and reiterating and make that better before anyone else does that. Even though there's been reports that Google's been working on that along with Apple as well. So okay, back to our AI. Let's see what they've done. Okay. So this is what I don't understand right now. I have Okay, so if that one's been closed, create a usable bottom. No, I did it. Okay. Oh, it's npx expo start. Oh, there we go. Okay, I like this. I like this. This, no. Okay. Okay, so while that's happening, let's get out of here and go to Stitch. So since in the beginning it'll just be a recipe storing app with no sharing functionality, I think I'm gonna roll back on the whole idea of, you know, saving family recipes and stuff. But I really like this whole design and stuff. What do you guys think? Okay. So basically what it's saying is that there isn't a database that's been set up, so it's telling me to create one and then provide it the details so that it can start sending that data into Firestore. At least that's what I think it means. Okay. Okay, so I have the application running and I have created a database. No, it doesn't like that. Okay. Okay. So let's do manual title cheese pizza. $500, 250 grams of grated cheese. I have 4 tomatoes. one. Garlic. Okay, you know what? Let's do this instead. I want to test my app, so give me a dummy data for our recipe, which should include a title, a family story, and ingredients. Steps. Okay. Okay, so this needs a little work. Can you check if it got added to Firestore? Okay, here's something that I really want to do. I'm looking, seeing if there's a way we can kind of add speech to text functionality so that I can talk rather than write. I know Whisper is. Super Whisper. Super Whisper. Let's see if he can use Super Whisper free. Okay, so ChatGPT recommended Super Whisper. That gives us the ability to do that, text, speech to text. So let's see if that kind of works in helping me dictate rather than just typing everything. I'm just going to install that here. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Hello, hello. Why is the wave not reacting? This is my first recording. We'll have to. Alright. Okay, so let's want to check if add are you able to add the following into this text? Okay, so it is So it's saying convert my speech into clear prompts for AI coding agent. Okay, I think it should work now. I think though I had to go into the app to give it permission to kind of get activated for cursor and for codex. So I think it should work now. Let's see. Hi. Okay, add the following details. Interesting. So it's not. Transcription. I don't want to move it to Pro. So why is it not showing? We kind of have to figure that out soon. Okay, check system settings. Privacy settings. Input monitor. Testing 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Okay, great. Okay. Until you see it. Fax account use. It's signed in as test@gmail.com. The recipe is called Dad's Friday Night Cheese Pizza. Okay. I think I know why this might just... Is test@gmail.com just demi data? I don't think so, but let's see. I'll go check. Test is it? Perfect. Okay, so I did find the details in my Firebase right over here. Which is good. I like this. I think we're making good progress right now. Now I should probably... Okay. So this is what we have I think what I have done so far is we've kind of worked on just adding the navigation bar in. I also kind of verified if Firebase was accepting the details that were being input into the app, into were they coming into Firebase. So that is also resolved. So now I think what we can do is we can, oh yes, and we added the navigation bar at the bottom. Now some of the stuff that actually came in wasn't the best. You see, like, this is something that didn't work out as expected. So yeah, I want to see. Are we using AI to parse the data for ingredients and recipes? How are the recipes entered by hand or being entered into, how are they being parsed? So basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to dig into this piece right now to understand how it's currently doing that over here. I need to give the ingredient quantity is not being added in the correct space. I would believe that it should have been over there in where it says as needed rather than being part of the whole details. So why was it not able to parse it itself? And how can we fix this? Do you have any kind of solutions that we can apply without using AI? It should take, uh, yeah, it should take the quantity and the units onto the other row and just put the ingredient on a separate side. I'll be back. I'm back. Okay, so let's see what it has been able to do. I think this is a good idea. I like this plan, please execute it. I like this idea, please execute it. So here's what I'm thinking. Maybe I don't need to make a Rolls Royce of an app. I just make a recipe app with basic features, but something that works really well. Will this parsing only work if it's in a certain format, or it is able to parse different variations as well? Make a note that we should thoroughly test this out before launching. What kind of testing can we perform to see where this fails? Yes, that works. Okay, I think we're gonna call it a day for today. We're gonna continue this tomorrow. We're gonna let this run. I'll do some testing and then we'll see how we can improve it further tomorrow. I think my aim for tomorrow would be to work more towards the UI piece of things, because right now we've confirmed a few things. We've confirmed it's storing all the data in Firestore. Um, we now have a navigation bar at the bottom. Um, Tomorrow, probably we're gonna work on just the feel in the skin of the recipe app. Thank you so much, and take care.